Now, I've used peel and stick wallpaper more times than I can count. So today I'm going to walk you through how to seamlessly apply any peel and stick. In this video, I'm going to share the 7 things that I do to make sure that I have a seamless, professional, high-end looking peel and stick install every time. Because if you think you're just going to put it up there, rip all of the backing off, expose all the adhesive, and smooth it down to the wall with no issues, you are delusional. So we're going to go over what tools you need, how to properly measure, how to apply it without getting those pesky bubbles, and how to fix any mistakes. Also want to show you how to maneuver around any corners and how to make your corners look very polished and professional. And I'm going to share whether the peel and stick will damage your walls, how to know which wall to apply it to, where not to apply it to, and what particular type of contact paper you should buy, because not all of them are made the same and some will damage your walls, furniture, etc. So before you pull the backing off of that peel and stick, make sure you watch this video. All right, now let's get into it. Peel and stick is one of my favorites because it's forgiving, it's effortless, and you do need a little bit of patience. All right, so the tools that you're going to need to grab is a utility knife, tape measure, a putty knife, a wall smoother, hair dryer, a soft towel. I like to use microfiber towels, and you can use a laser level or you can use a level. But those are the things that you're going to need to grab so you have them right away. Oh, and I almost forgot, push pins and masking tape. You're going to need those too. Now, the towel is just to wrap around the putty knife. If you're nervous about scratching the wall or you don't want to scratch the wallpaper, I like to use the microfiber towel just to protect myself and my stuff. But it is not mandatory. It is literally just a suggestion that I recommend. All right, step 1, you want to make sure that you measure appropriately. I like to measure the width and the height of the room, and if you multiply that, you can get your square footage. And I also like to make sure I order at least 1 extra roll because I would rather have it and be able to complete my project versus not have it and then now I gotta order it, wait, and I may not have the energy or the necessary desire to finish it. I like to use wallpaper that has texture or that is solid, but if you like to use any type of patterns, you will want to cut out your sheets and you want to line them up. I am not suggesting that you use those type in like large areas because it can become daunting and we are not professional wallpaper installers. Okay, this is a DIY, meaning that we are winging it. So make sure you give yourself, like I said, that time. Make sure you pick the right wallpaper so that you can actually get it done, and make sure that you have enough wallpaper to begin the project. Now, when it comes to wallpaper, some of the designs have this grid on the back that already gives you a clear understanding where to cut, but some of them don't. And that's what brings me to my next point. You want to make sure you actually feel the wallpaper when you get it, because some of them are extremely thin, and the thinner the wallpaper, the cheaper it is. That means you're going to be able to crease it easier, or it's going to be able to rip, and you don't want that. So I know it may look good online, but sometimes you have to order it and you have to, just feel it and see if it's even worth your time and your money. That's why I don't rush to make a quick video whenever I get wallpaper, because sometimes I order stuff and it is cheap, and I definitely don't want you to just think I love every piece of wallpaper that's out there. Some of them are terrible. This right here is a good example. Sometimes people put contact paper on Amazon as wallpaper and it is not the same. What the heck? Yeah, it's not the same. You can tell because 1, it says contact paper, but 2, it is a lot thinner. So this is going to work really well for a shelf, a drawer, acting as a liner. But when it comes to putting it on a wall, it's not going to do the job. So just make sure you get your wallpaper and just make sure that it has some substance to it. Just make sure it's not super thin. If it feels like a piece of paper that you can write on, it is definitely not going to work on your walls. It's probably not going to want to come off either. Okay, now let's talk about creasing and bubbles. Okay, if you get a little crease from your wallpaper, do not panic. You're going to use a little light heat from your hair dryer, and it's going to loosen the adhesive, which is going to allow you to kind of smooth it out. Again, the microfiber towel really comes in handy when you're trying to do this, and you want to make sure you peel it off slowly, literally this much at a time. I think that's what makes the peel and stick process take so long, because if you think you're just going to put it up there, rip all of the backing off, expose all the adhesive, and smooth it down to the wall with no issues, you are delusional. So make sure you take off very, very small portions of the backing, and then you want to adhere it to the wall. Now, I like to use the applicator or a putty knife in the center. And remember, I said you need push pins and masking tape. Yeah, before I commit to putting any wallpaper up, I always either push pin it to the wall or I tape it to the wall, because sometimes you may not like it. Like, I purchased this one here and I still haven't used it. I have like 6 rolls of this and I like it. I just don't like it for the design style that I was going to go for in the specific room that I was going to use it in. But once you figure out that you like the peel and stick, you want to make sure that you apply it in the middle portion of the wall. And the reason you do that is because it is a lot easier to get out a bubble from the midpoint of the wall versus starting all the way at the top. Okay, this is what people do. They start all the way at the top and then they come down, they scrape, they scrape, they scrape, they scrape, they get all the way to the bottom, and then they find that they have a bubble right in the middle of the wallpaper. And now you got to rip all of that wallpaper up just to get to the bubble that's in the middle. Whereas if you start in the middle, then you can successfully adhere all of the peel and stick to the top part of the wall, and then pull out the back very slowly, and then adhere everything down to the bottom portion of the wall, or side to side, however you hanging it. That is what you should do in order to make sure that you do not have any bubbles. Okay. And if I didn't mention it before, make sure that everything is aligned with the wall, because if you have crooked walls and things like that, and check out the description and the comment section so you can grab my mood board with all the links and get your design started on a budget. When you use the push pins and the masking tape, it's going to allow you to see any imperfections before you start applying that wallpaper. So when I apply my peel and stick wallpaper, I always have excess at the top and at the bottom. The reason I do this is because you don't want to have your wall show. You want to make sure that that wallpaper goes all the way up to the crease where the ceiling meets the wall, and you want to make sure it goes all the way down to the baseboard and the wall. And once you get your peel and stick wallpaper adhered to the wall and you have the excess at the top and the bottom, then you just take your utility knife and your scraper and you can run it across really small and quite light, and that's going to allow you to have a seamless cut. Now, this is very important. You want to make sure you cut lightly because you do not want to score the wall underneath. I have done that before. It's not the end of the world, but by scoring it lightly, you're going to make sure you're not cutting the wall, and you are going to be able to go over it again if you need to. I like to make sure I pull it slowly, because the other thing that you can run into, the other issue, is if you score it too lightly and it doesn't actually cut through the wallpaper and then you go to rip it off real fast, you're probably going to rip your wallpaper and it's not going to be a seamless application, and that's not what we're going for. So lightly, test it. If it's still connected, then do another pass and then you should have a nice seamless cut. Now let's talk about overlapping seams, okay? Because I have seen some really cool applications, and people sometimes overlap the wallpapers, and then they use a putty knife and they kind of cut it down in a squiggly line, pull both of them off, and then they perfectly align, but it's not a straight line, so you can't really see where the peel and stick starts and ends. And this works really well for solid or something like this, like a textured wallpaper. That does not work well for anything that has a pattern. You could try that, but I find that just overlapping it just a little bit is perfectly fine. Again, it's a preference thing. If you can see the lines and they bother you, that's just an option that you can try. But just make sure that you have a very sharp utility knife, because if you do not, that little squiggly, wavy line that you're going to try to make is going to be impossible. I actually would recommend you use an X-Acto knife, to be honest. That will probably give you more precision than a putty knife. But I want to show you something real quick, because not a lot of people know this. I mean, at one point I didn't know it. So let me show you something. All right, so when it comes to this utility knife, if you want to get the sharpest of the sharpest, you bring this up. Just want to make sure that this is in focus. So you bring this up, and then you take this bottom off. This pops off like that. And then you push this up. See? Push that up. See how the line is diagonal and it's lining up perfectly with the little score parts of this blade? This piece back here, this little slit right here, goes on to this right here. So you can pull it down, and I'm gonna show you. So now it's lined up. I hope I'm doing a good job of explaining this. It's lined up, and then you just pop this like that. See? So now you have a very sharp blade. And if I wanted to do the same thing again, I would just push this in here and pop it off like that. Now you can actually wear gloves. It'll probably be safer, but just make sure your fingers are back. And again, so this would have two more fresh blades. See, I'm wasting blades for you. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know it's love. So yeah, make sure you do not cut with a dull knife or a dull utility blade. You want to make sure that you cut this off so you get the sharpest blade possible. And then you just cut down like that, like in a little squiggly line. All right, now when it comes to a seamless application for patterns, make sure you lay it down on the floor, line it up, make sure that you have the appropriate height, and then apply it, because trying to align it on the wall can be accomplished, but it is a little bit harder. If you do need to line it up on the wall, that's where the push pins and the masking tape come in handy. So those are my tips for making sure that you have a seamless application in the middle part of the wall. Now, moving on to applying the peel and stick wallpaper around outlets. This used to be so hard for me, but don't overcomplicate it. Now, I mentioned that I start off in the middle. So that means I'm going to go all the way up to the top. I'm most likely not going to have any switches unless it's like at the edge of the wall. Notice that switches are typically placed towards the edge of the wall or by a doorway. So if you're not applying a peel and stick in those areas, you might not run into one. But in the event that you are applying peel and stick in those areas, then you want to apply it up first. If you do run into the outlet, go ahead and remove the cover of the outlet plate, and you can just put the wallpaper up like normal. Now, there'll be a little bit of a little push out. You just use your finger and then use a mechanical pencil, some type of pencil, draw around it, and then you just cut it out. It's super simple. Once you cut the bottom portion of that wall plate out, then you'll be able to adhere it a little bit more, and you just keep cutting it up the sides and then around it at the top, and then you're going to be done. Very simple. If you are, cautious, which I recommend, turn the breaker off so that you don't have any issues, because the metal blade and the electrical outlet is probably not a good pair. But it's super simple. Take it off, roll it up, give it a feel, cut around it, apply it some more, cut the top, keep going. That's how you're going to be able to get your peel and stick up a lot faster. And do make sure that you are filling around. Again, I can't emphasize that enough. And make sure that you're not going inside of the outlet box so you don't have any issues. Once you're finished, you just replace the cover and you're done. Simple, easy peasy. You do the same thing for the electrical outlets that you are most likely going to encounter at the bottom of the wall. And those are a lot easier because you don't have the light switch kind of sticking out. So once you master that, you'll be done in no time. All right, now let's talk about the corners of a wall when it comes to peel and stick. You have two options. You could, cut the wallpaper in half, especially if it's a solid or a textured wallpaper similar to this one. Now, the best sides to add to the corners would be your pre-cut sides. These are perfectly cut, so they're going to line up seamlessly. And you could just use the corner of the wall as the guide and have one strip go all the way down, and then you can do the same thing with the other strip and the other side of the corner. That's an option. Or you could apply the peel and stick very slowly, creasing it in the wall, and then apply it to the other side of the wall where the corner meets, like that. I honestly haven't used this technique a lot. I am going to have to use it in an upcoming project, so I will let you know how that works out. But if I had to choose, I would probably just have two separate pieces. I feel like it would be easier to come down, and I don't have to worry about one side, sagging and pulling the other side down. And it would be easier to adjust if I needed to. So my recommendation is to just cut, cut the wallpaper straight down the middle, and then use two pieces, which is the factory cut sides, for the corner of the wall. Let me know if you've tried it out and which one you suggest, because again, I haven't technically done this yet. Now, when it comes to peel and stick wallpaper on textured walls, I have a little hack that I have utilized in a previous project, and it is a little bit expensive because you have to purchase something called a polywall. Now, for me, it was worth it because I didn't want to commit to taking it all down, and I was able to just pull the polywall down. And I really didn't even need to use it because my walls have been flat for the most part. But if you live in Florida and you have those pesky textured walls and you are just craving something new and exciting like peel and stick wallpaper, don't worry. You can still have the luxury of trying peel and stick wallpaper. Now, you just need to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and purchase something called a polywall. It is quite tall. I believe it's 8 feet in height. It is because it fit the whole wall, and my last place had 8 feet ceilings. Now, you may run into a problem if you are in a home or an apartment that has 10 feet ceilings. You will probably just have to make up for 2 feet or so, but that's still an option. So you adhere the polywall to your wall. You could use command strips. You could use small finishing nails. You could use, those are like the main two. Then you want to, once you apply the polywall, you just apply the peel and stick right over the polywall, and voila, it's going to stick with no problem because the polywall is made of plastic, and peel and stick really sticks well to plastic. So I hope that helps if you are, like I said, one of my South Florida Floridians that run into this problem all the time. You can try this out. Let me know how it works. And let me know if you live somewhere other than Florida that has textured walls. Because I really haven't experienced. I would imagine that Arizona might have them too. Let me know in the comments. And by the way, hi, my name is Wayna, and I help renters not only create a space that they love, but I help you organize and I help you with tips and ideas on how to update any ugly and boring apartment and make it run like a CEO home. Okay? So if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that right now. Now, if this video has given you more confidence when it comes to trying and applying peel and stick wallpaper, go ahead and comment CEO of my walls down below. Okay? And let me know if you're going to do an accent wall or if you're going to go all in and do a full wall. Okay? Because you either go in a little or you go all the way or just a little bit. And I should have did this video a long time ago because the amount of questions that I have gotten over the years warrants a video like this. All right. As always, don't forget, be you, be beautiful, be chic on a budget. And I will see you in the next peel and stick video because I still have more to talk about. All right. Later, boo.